We are going to hand over the direction of nature to nature, which is what it comes to.
So, we recently had some controversy on
TikTok.
On TikTok on one of the shorts we posted.
Right.
And
About LGBT,
Yeah.
because that's a big
there's something that I want to
topic.
say about that though, because I find it interesting. Lots of people are saying that this is why certain people shouldn't have access to a microphone. Like
Correct.
Some people shouldn't have freedom of speech, and I want to emphasize that the reason that I wanted to start a podcast in the first place is because this is not for me to give advice to anyone, but for me to learn and share what lessons that I learn as I learn them, and to learn with you. Because regardless of whether or not we record it, me and Giovanni always have these talks. We always have these talks. That's
Even
why-
yesterday, we were supposed to film an episode and it came out really, really, really good. And I was like, okay, it only came out really good because the conversation was really productive. And it was a conversation about AI and personal girl stuff and relationships and whatnot. And that came out really well. But it wasn't recorded. There's nothing wrong with that. It wasn't recorded, it wasn't recorded. And sometimes you have to have that outlook. Stuff happens. So, that's, it, like he said, basically, these conversations happen anyways, and thought we started it to make the most out of it. And the idea of not everyone having freedom of speech is very, very messed up, and I don't see why people would diss on us for having microphones to our access. The opinions are justified in every sense because you're allowed to have your own opinions, and freedom of speech is an amendment.
I've always found it so interesting when people get mad on the internet, when they argue on the internet, because, I mean, I hope that they realize that by commenting on that video and getting angry about it, and, it was a controversial topic.
It's promoting
by,
it.
Yeah, by giving knowledge that it promotes it. That video got 100,000 views.
Yeah, that was a good video. So what we're trying to say here is controversy is good, right? Because that's the sharing of opinions. But at the same time, it's really 50-50. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say it. I believe in that rule 100%. But if you do have something nice to talk about, or just your opinion, that's perfectly fine. But an opinion is not saying not everyone deserves access to microphones. Because now you're sectioning out one group of peoples and saying that is wrong and the amendment in the Constitution is wrong.
Don't talk too close to the one working microphone.
That's yours, yeah.
Oh, really? I have the working one?
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have the first one.
So, you were saying some interesting things to me this morning about the podcast. Like, you haven't wanted to record or anything. You were saying that school is a priority for you.
100%.
Do you want to go deeper into that? Because I think I slightly disagree. At least from my personal standpoint, it might be for you, and I'm not here to tell you what's your priority and what's not. But I'm interested in your thinking because you've always seemed, very avidly against school and their policies and their rules. And
I am, but sometimes, actually all the times, you have to play into the system, and it is something to fall back on. And although college is not justified, I'm not talking about college here, I'm talking about high school. I'm talking about how if the grades are really good, you always have something to fall back on because colleges will give you tuition and money for their school for your grades. And if your grades are good, it's kind of a reward system. Oh, you do good, you kiss somebody's ass, you get rewards. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There is a lot of ass kissing in the education industry, though, yeah.
in the end, though, is it better to have something to fall back on? Because is that...
Well, everyone has their own opinion. That's opinion based.
Yeah. But I think there's something to be said for truly committing to something. When you find something that you care about so deeply, like for me, it's writing. Whatever I do in life, I have to be a writer. There's no other way. And if that means that I have to be, broke, if I have to be homeless for a time, but I have to be the starving artist, that's worth it for me. And a lot of people can't really fathom that because not many people have found such a thing they care about that much. It's very scarce today. But I don't know. I don't think it makes sense sometimes when you're looking at success.
Not many things are possible to do in life that...
by the metric of death, doesn't make sense to plan that way for me. I'd rather experience... Personally, I'm saying personally, and that's the whole concept of...
That's what I said, opinion.
Of purpose, too, is, it's very up to the individual. But to me, I think it's better to suffer before whatever life has, embrace it, amor fati, and just let it be. And by the end of my life, when I look back on that, you need to think about what you're going to regret, because no matter what you do in life, you're going to regret something. And if I look back on the wisdom I gained through my trials and tribulations of pursuing the thing that I cared about deeper than anything else, that is more worth it to me than being, successful by such, what's the word? Such a banal metric of our times.
Right. And I want people to know that when we're talking right now, we're talking fully opinion-based, and some people are like, oh, but that's not factual, because it's not. We're talking from our personal experience what we want to be, not facts. Like he said, oh, I want to be a writer no matter what. A lot of people can't find the whatever they want to do.
That is true.
But that's an opinion still. So even if it's not a fact, it's still an opinion. Everything would be an opinion. Anything that comes out of my mouth that can even be slightly opinion-based with the word I in it would be from my standpoint. Me.
But what do you think about that? Because success is very different for many people, but I think that ultimately success is looking back and saying, wow, because you're really not going to have much else.
Right, success is kind of a completion of your goals. I mean, it's not kind of, that's what it is. But everyone has different goals, so who am I to judge on other people's goals? Who am I to say, oh, your dreams are not valid and verified versus mine? I can't say that, because that would be, one, that would be prejudiced, and two, that would be absolutely wrong. Why would you judge someone else for what they want to become? So I think if you want to go do that, you can go do that. But I'm saying when you're homeless and you're struggling, the top priority will be food. Trust me.
But I want to hear though, because I want to hear from you, your opinion. I've shared mine.
On the school system, or
why do you want to have this backup plan? What is success? What are your goals? What is your metric of success that's going to leave you? Have you ever really thought about that?
So what would leave me satisfied in my life, knowing that I graduated probably high school, of course. I will graduate high school. If I don't, I'll be very ashamed. I better die before I not graduate. Because any idiot can do that. It's almost like I want to be the best at what I'm doing right now if I'm going to be forced to do it anyways, correct? And if that means putting that first, that's perfectly fine. And also, it's a household thing, right? I don't know. Most families that live around us don't really care if their kids get good grades. And I can tell you, in my school, there's no valedictorian that's going to be going to Harvard. It doesn't matter. But I guess it's maybe an area thing too, right? It's all opinion based. So just from my standpoint, even if it sounds wrong, yes, I want to pursue school as a full-time thing, and I want to probably go to a trade school, either for business, economics, something like that, because that really, you can't beat that one. If I get my tuition covered, it's really 100% worth it. And college is always worth it, even if you get a master's or bachelor's degree, because then you can have that and you can get a job and you can get something else. And even if that job is working part-time, I was watching this YouTuber who worked part-time for a, I forget, it was some kind of firm, and he was working. He realized, okay, I need a second source of income. So he bought and sold cars. He resold cars. And he did that as a side gig. And he was able to afford a Lamborghini Gallardo from doing that and that. Sometimes, yes, this podcast is my all option, like him selling cars in this case. But we are 15. And I have to take that into account. Of course, if I was 16, right, I'd be putting money somewhere. But
well, you're speaking from a very logical standpoint.
yeah,
I don't think life is. Have you thought about purpose in
No.
the equation?
Because my purpose is to strive and thrive. S&T.
Well, that's more from a universal standpoint of purpose. I'm talking about individual purpose.
No. I am universal. 100%.
Obviously, but within the individual. There's the self and there's the individual. The self is all things, as I think you're hinting at, maybe you're not. It still stands either way. The self is all things. The individual is a sect of consciousness that you occupy and its place in that larger whole. Thinking outside of logic, which has plagued the minds of so many. There's three types of people, right? There's the bots, there's the people that follow the script. There's the people that work hard and complete.
You know what's crazy is those bots are real people too, but they got trapped or something.
And then there's the nihilists.
Have you ever talked, real quick, sorry to interrupt. We're going to go back on it, though. Have you ever talked to you talked to someone today who's been high? Well, they're a totally different person.
No, come back to what I was saying.
Isn't that crazy, though? That is exactly what you're saying. It's all a circle.
No, come back to what I was saying.
It's all a circle. That's exactly what you were saying. What's your purpose? Individually. Some people have that, some people have this. I don't have an individual purpose.
Yes, you do. You just haven't found it.
Yeah.
That's why you think logically.
And that's perfectly fine with me because I enjoy thinking logically. And illogical thinking is pointless to me as I have not found the logicality in it.
Or is that just the narrative of yourself?
I wouldn't be able to answer.
Circumstances.
Right. Wouldn't be able to answer.
But have you thought about finding purpose? Have you thought about what constitutes an individual purpose?
Yeah.
So what is it?
It's pointless. There's no reason. Right?
But it's not. Because it is. Because I have a different way of looking at meaning. Right? People think about meaning like, oh, like what does it mean, right? To me, meaning is what you are. Right? So if you're a garbage man, your purpose, your meaning is that you're a garbage man. And if you're a rich, successful businessman, that's your purpose too. That's your meaning. That's what you are. So you're going to be something, and it's what do you want to be?
I just told you what I thought I was.
Yeah,
a god.
Oh, God.
No, seriously. That's exactly what I'm saying, though. I think I don't have a future plan of what I'm going to be. Right now, I'm a universal.
But have you found the thing that makes you want to sacrifice for it?
I sew a niche. No.
Not a niche, a specific thing, very specific.
A group. A thing.
Your thing.
There's no such thing as individual thought. You know that. Somebody else that also likes
There
right.
is such thing as an individual. To
Right.
be able to conceptualize such a thing as unindividuality, there has to be an individual. The individual is very, societally influenced, group influence, but that does not mean that it doesn't exist somewhere within you what you are meant to be.
But
Or
the
what
word
you
individual
ought-
is so
no,
contradictory.
Not meant, ought to be.
The word individual is contradictory because if you're a true
that-
individual, then how would you
that's
have
what I'm saying.
illogical thought?
Life is illogical. It is contradictory. That's why I'm saying that I measure life by the metric of debt. Success by the metric of debt. Not, if I go to school and I do this and then I can get the Lamborghini and I'll be rich and I'll be able to pay this off and then blah, 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 my family. Or you can make it as simple as, I'm in love with wisdom. That is my meaning. And you chase it without regard for anything else. And whatever becomes of your life becomes of your life. What do you want the story
So
to be?
you're saying you take a risk.
Your story is never going to be written down. You will be forgotten about. What do you want your story to be? Because you're the only person that is going to see the full thing.
I don't really care. That may sound weird, but I really don't care. It's kind of almost like, I've thought about it very, 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 very much about the whole concept of death, dreams, meaning behind your own brain, how I'm speaking fluently in a language that doesn't mean anything to most people. Not most people, but half the world doesn't speak English, so. So that's, to me, it's pointless. Because there's stuff I could think about, take risk, or I could live normal. You know what I mean? And the normal niche
That is normal.
would be,
To question?
yeah,
You have to.
yeah,
That's the most normal thing there is.
that's the niche. So there's questions, right?
What is your question? And if you haven't found it, then you will think logically. But until you when you find your question, you think much differently.
Yeah, I have no question. Right, you asked what would I give everything for? Nothing.
If you had no question, then you would kill yourself. That's how-
What?
Yeah. If there's no question, you're a nihilist. And not,
For
not-
what?
Not a wise nihilist.
You mean question
but a
for
nihilist.
for
A true
living?
nihilist. Yeah. There's two forms of nihilism. There's
Why question it? If you
You
were
have to.
born, you were conceived for a reason.
Same thing I said about meaning. You have to question it. You don't get a choice. It's not a will to question things. People say, oh, man has a will to know. No, he will know. You are forced forced to formulate beliefs in your current surrounding and to figure things out. It is the nature and will of all your actions. Not a will, but a will. You will. That's why they call it a will.
Yeah, and eventually maybe it'll happen. Maybe I'll be like, okay, what do I want to partake in? But I don't have the question yet. No, it hasn't come to thought. There's been no reason. One day, of course, there'll be a reason. I'll think, yeah, but even then, it's just a way of thinking. I think everyone thinks differently. How you think versus what I think versus what any of our friends think.
And that itself is a question, a thought.
Yeah, but isn't everything?
It is.
Right.
Which one's yours? Which one obsesses you the most?
I don't know. Because there's a lot of groups of things. There's never an individual thing for me. Because I can't. It's unconceivable.
That's the point.
Yes. So, if you want to move on to back to my point. So, like some people, because some people can answer that easily. What do you live for? For me, thinking very logically and very scientifically.
Well, if you can answer
I
that,
can't.
If you can answer that easily, then you're lying to yourself. Because even
well,
though I
yeah,
know
I can't.
I answer for it, but even then, it's a very hard question because it is cyclic. And if you're being honest with yourself, there's not an answer.
That's why I can't answer.
But the question is the answer. That's why I said,
Right.
What is your question? Not like, what is your meaning? What is your question? What is your attempt at meaning? Where do you attempt to find meaning? Because you have to, in one way or another. Whether it be sitting down at this table, whether it be physics or math, or being, a rich, successful businessman, you have to find it. You're going to chase some question. What question do you want to chase? Which one obsesses you? Not the answer. There's no answer.
Yeah, I don't even know that.
The answer is death.
Uh-huh. And what comes
And we
before
don't
that
even
is
know
the
that.
question.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Wisdom.
People can really find that really easily. If I ask somebody what is their purpose, what do they like, they're going to answer with what they like
I'd
to
say
do.
Not so much nowadays, though. Because meaning sprouts from nihilism, right? It's sort of fundamental in a way to creating something that you start with nothing. Nihilism is the base of nothingness. Nihilism is, okay, nothing matters. And there's two forms of that. There's, oh, it doesn't matter, and then there's, why does it matter? The people who truly give into it doesn't matter are not here. They're gone. They killed themselves. Because if it truly didn't matter, they would kill themselves. They have no reason to be here. But if the question is why does it matter, that can only enhance the meaning of it. Because it's a search. You become a part of the circle of wisdom, of knowledge, that eventually leads to death. The crossing over the edge of the circle, no longer spinning the thing.
I mean, I don't believe they would kill themselves. Because, think about
true
it.
Nihilist would.
No, think about it. A true nihilist wouldn't kill themselves. They'd either get killed or try to be killed.
Well, it depends.
They couldn't kill
It
themselves.
depends on which nihilism you're talking about. Because there's different kinds of nihilism. The nihilist who believes that things are meaningless truly would not have a reason to live. That is true belief. Devotion completely, fully to what you believe. You are still a nihilist if you don't kill yourself. You can still be a nihilist. But you can no longer abide by the statement, it doesn't matter. You have to abide by the statement, why does it matter? And then it becomes a search. What are your thoughts on that?
So I think the statement, it doesn't matter, is referring to, like, okay, I'll say, like, oh, do your homework, it doesn't matter.
How about nothing matters for more specification?
Okay. Because
Nothing
it doesn't matter, I use daily. My
Yeah.
mom would be like, do your homework, it doesn't matter.
Some things don't.
Yeah, right. So,
But nothing matters.
so in the term of life, oh, you ask somebody, what do you think about life, and they say it doesn't matter, that would be a nihilistic point of view. Right.
Mhm.
So, in that case, I think that's actually a mental condition.
Isn't life a mental condition?
It's a mental conditioning. But a mental
I like that.
condition is something you think about and you can conceive it. Like, me and you can't think about killing ourselves because nothing matters, because we would have done it already.
Yeah.
So, it's very hard to put that thought into my brain and then say, oh, that's normal. Because clearly normal is normal thinking and conversation. If you just all of a sudden stop talking and turn into this person, you clearly had a thought along the way and a recognition, almost a wake-up call. That's all there is to say about it. being a nihilist, because a nihilist is it doesn't matter anyways. So I don't know.